Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. First, thank you so much for 200 subscribers last week. We took a deep dive into the book of Ecclesiastes, and today we're looking at another amazing book of the Bible, Micah. Now, Micah is one of the shorter books in the Old Testament. It's only 7 chapters long, but it contains powerful messages about justice, mercy, judgment, hope, and even prophecies about Jesus. So let's jump right in. Who was Micah? Micah was a prophet who lived in the southern kingdom of Judah. He preached during the difficult times in Israel's history. Many people had turned away from God. Leaders were corrupt and rich were taking advantages of the poor, and many people looked religious on the outside while ignoring God's commands. God called Micah to speak the truth, even when people didn't want to hear it. So the first chapters are about judgment is coming. So the first part of the book contains a serious warning. Micah tells both Israel and Judah that God sees their sin and judgment is coming. One of the biggest problems was greed. Powerful people were taking land, money, and property from those who couldn't defend themselves. Micah reminds us that God notices how people treat one another. He cares about justice and he cares about the weak. Even today, that's an important lesson. God is not blind to what happens in the world. So the corrupt leaders. As the book continues, Micah turns his attention to the leaders. The rulers were abusing their power. Religious leaders cared more about money than truth. Instead of helping people follow God, they were leading them in the wrong direction. Micah makes it clear that leadership is a serious responsibility, whether someone is a king, a pastor, a teacher, or a parent. God expects leaders to act with integrity. The promise for a future king. Right in the middle of these warnings comes an incredible promise. Micah says that one day a ruler will come from Bethlehem. Christians recognize this as a prophecy about Jesus. Hundreds of years before Jesus was born, Micah pointed to the very town where the Messiah would enter the world. This reminds us that God keeps his promises. Even when events seem far away, God's plans are always moving forward. What does God want from us? The most famous verse in Micah is probably Micah 6:8. It says, "He has shown you what is good, and what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, to love mercifully, and to walk humbly with your God." This is a simple verse, but it is incredibly powerful. To act justly means to do what is right. To love mercifully is to show kindness and forgiveness to others. And to walk humbly with God means to trust in Him instead of putting all of your confidence in yourself. This verse gives us a picture of what faithful life should look like. Hope and forgiveness. The final chapter of Micah is filled with hope. Even though the people had sinned, God was still willing to forgive. Micah praises God for his mercy and faithfulness. One of the biggest lessons from this book is God's judgment is never the end of the story. God is holy, but he is also loving. He corrects his people, but he also restores them. What can we learn from Micah? So we can take away from this book today. First, God cares about justice and how we treat others. Second, God wants more religions to act. He wants more than religious actions, he wants our hearts. Third, God always keeps his promises. Fourth, no one is beyond God's mercy when they turn back to him. And finally, Micah points us towards Jesus, the promised king who came to save his people. So the conclusion of the book. The book Micah might be short, but its message is powerful. It teaches us about justice, mercy, humanity, and God's faithfulness. Most important, it reminds us that God always keeps his promises and offers hope to those who trust him. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to check out my channel and let me know what book you would like me to explore next. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.